I'd only meant to drop off a hard drive. That was all. In and out before dinner, no awkwardness, no small talk. But her house was different at dusk. The blinds half open, a gray spill of winter light across the floor. Everything smelled faintly of orange peel and something warm in the oven. I stood there holding the drive like an apology until she looked up from the couch. "Your friend said you'd come by," she murmured, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "You're early." She wasn't dressed for company. Jeans, loose sweater, hair pinned up in a way that made her neck seem bare. She patted the cushion beside her without looking directly at me. "Sit if you're not rushing." I told myself it was polite, nothing more. But my hands were damp against the drive as I lowered myself onto the edge of the couch. The cushion gave a sigh. She shifted slightly closer to make room, or maybe she hadn't realized how little space there was. Either way, her knee almost touched mine. We talked about nothing, how cold it had been, how her son still hadn't fixed the car. She asked about my classes and I answered too quickly, as if speed could make my voice sound older. "Do you miss home?" she asked. "I'm not sure I had one," I said, then laughed too loud at my own line. She smiled but didn't laugh. Her eyes stayed on me for a second longer than felt safe. Not in a hungry way, more like she was searching for something she shouldn't be searching for. The TV played a muted documentary either of us watched. In the reflection on the black screen, I could see how close we were sitting, two shapes leaning slightly inward. My friend's mother and me. I noticed little things I hadn't before, a tiny scar on her knuckle, the way she curled her toes under her foot when she sat cross-legged. She was looking straight ahead, but her breathing had slowed. Mine too. "I should probably..." I started, but didn't finish. "You don't have to rush," she said softly. "It's just nice to have someone to talk to." Her voice cracked a little at someone. She cleared her throat, eyes still forward. The house was too quiet. Somewhere a radiator ticked like a nervous clock. I wanted to ask if she was okay, but the question felt too big. Instead, I brushed an imaginary crumb off my jeans. My hand hovered an inch from her knee before retreating. She noticed. I knew she noticed because her lips parted as if to say something, then closed again. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I don't know why she said it. "For what?" I asked. She shook her head and gave a tiny smile that wasn't really a smile. We both stared at the muted TV as if it might give us permission to move. Then her phone buzzed on the coffee table, one long vibration, then another. She glanced at the screen, and whatever name she saw there made her face change. Not fear, not anger, something else. She picked it up, hesitated, then set it face down without answering. When she turned back to me, her eyes held mine. Not a glance, held. My chest felt like a closed fist. Before either of us could speak, the doorbell rang. The doorbell kept ringing even after she rose to answer. I caught a glimpse of her profile as she stood in the hallway, shoulders squared, expression smoothed over like wet paint. Whoever was at the door left before she reached it. When she came back, she carried 2 mugs of tea and a careful distance between us, as if she'd remembered something she shouldn't forget. I wrapped my hands around the mug though it was still too hot. "Everything okay?" She lowered herself onto the couch again, this time a few inches farther away. "It's fine. Just someone I don't owe an explanation to anymore." She didn't say ex-husband, but the silence after made it obvious. My friend had mentioned his parents splitting up years ago. In college, it had sounded like background noise. Now, sitting here with her, it felt like part of the air. "I'm sorry," I said. She shrugged. "Don't be. You're too young to be sorry for me." It was meant to close the subject, but it didn't. Her voice carried a weariness that didn't match the bright kitchen or the smell of orange peel. I wanted to ask how long she'd been alone, what she missed most, but the words stuck behind my teeth. Instead, she asked, And you? Anyone waiting for you somewhere? I gave a short laugh. No one serious. I'm usually the one left waiting. She tilted her head, studying me the way someone studies a painting they're not supposed to touch. You're kind, she said. That can be dangerous. I sipped the tea, burning my tongue a little. Dangerous? Kind people end up in places they shouldn't, she murmured, eyes dropping to the mug. Then, more lightly, like stuck on a couch with their friend's mother. The joke hung there, not quite landing. My stomach tightened. She was right, it was dangerous. She was twice my age, the woman who used to hand me lemonade in high school when her son and I played video games upstairs. She wasn't supposed to be a person who sat this close, who looked at me like that. And yet she did. And yet I stayed. The rain had started outside without me noticing. It tapped against the windows, soft but insistent. We sat in its sound for a while. She reached up to adjust her hair, and the pin slipped, letting it fall around her shoulders. Something about that small undoing felt like an invitation, though she didn't move toward me. I set my mug down. Do you ever think about leaving? I asked. Just starting somewhere new? She smiled, not at me but at the question. Every day. Her hand rested on the cushion between us, fingers splayed. I didn't reach for it. Not yet. But my hand moved close enough that the heat from her skin brushed mine. We stayed like that, staring at the rain, not touching but no longer pretending we weren't about to. Rain hammered harder against the windows, the sound like static between us. Her hand was still on the cushion, mine hovering close. 1 inch more and we'd have crossed a line neither of us could uncross. A sharp knock rattled the door. We both jerked upright. She stood quickly, almost spilling her tea. Stay here, she said, voice low. I heard her at the door, a murmured greeting. Then a male voice, familiar, younger. My friend. My stomach clenched. I couldn't see them, but I could picture him on the porch, wet hair plastered to his forehead, asking for something ordinary, a charger, a jacket, never suspecting what was happening inside. I'm not feeling well, she said out loud, too brightly. Come back tomorrow? A pause. Then the sound of his footsteps retreating. The door shut, lock clicking. She stayed there a moment before returning. Her sweater clung to her, rain damp from the open door. He forgot something, she murmured, not looking at me. I tried to smile. Guess we're both lucky. She dropped onto the couch again, but farther this time. The space between us felt like a wall. This is wrong, she said softly. I know, I said. We can't even sit like this, she whispered. And yet neither of us moved. I swallowed. You could tell me to leave. Her eyes flicked to mine. Would you? I didn't answer. She laughed once, a small brittle sound. You're a boy. You think you know what you're doing. I'm not a boy, I said, and it came out harsher than I meant. That silenced her. Rain kept drumming. The muted TV flashed colors across her face. She reached for the remote, dropped it, then bent to pick it up. Her hair fell forward, and when she straightened, we were inches apart. Neither of us had planned it. Our breath mingled. Her hand came up as if to brush something from my shoulder, then froze midair. I shouldn't, she whispered. You didn't, I said, but my voice shook. We stayed there, suspended, my hand on the back of the couch, her fingers still hovering. Her eyes searched mine like a question she wasn't ready to ask. Another vibration buzzed across the coffee table. This time it was my phone. A text from my roommate. Where are you? Your friend's looking for you. She saw the name light up on the screen. Something flickered across her face, panic, relief, both. You should go, she said. I stood, heart pounding. If I leave now, I'll come back, I blurted. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Rain thudded harder. For a heartbeat I thought she'd pull me back down. Instead she turned toward the window, shoulders trembling. I stopped in the doorway. "Tell me not to," I said quietly. She didn't doubt I didn't sleep that night. The rain had stopped hours ago, but its echo stayed in my chest. Every time my phone buzzed with my friend's name, I left it unanswered. By morning, the unanswered messages felt like stones piling up inside me. When I finally went back to her house 2 days later, it was supposed to be for something trivial, a book I'd lent her son. I told myself that's all it was. My knock was softer than usual, like I was afraid she'd actually open the door. She did. Her hair was still damp from a shower, the smell of soap and coffee spilling out into the hallway. She looked at me the way someone looks at a mirror they're not ready to face. "You shouldn't be here," she said, but stepped aside anyway. The living room looked exactly the same as before. Same muted TV, same couch. Only the air had changed, thicker, charged. I set the book on the table but didn't sit. "Why didn't you answer my texts?" I asked. My voice sounded older than I felt. She hugged herself. "Because it's dangerous. Because my son keeps asking where you are. Because I keep thinking about." She stopped. "About what?" I pressed. She shook her head. "This isn't fair to you." I laughed once sharp. "You think I don't know that? You think I'm some kid who doesn't understand what's happening?" Her eyes flashed. "You're my son's friend. I'm also a man who can't stop thinking about you," I said before I could stop myself. Silence slammed down between us. Her hands trembled slightly against her arms. She looked at me then, really looked, and something cracked in her expression, a mix of hunger and guilt. "I'm not who you think I am," she whispered. "You're exactly who I think you are," I said, stepping closer. She backed up until the edge of the couch touched her legs. "This will ruin everything." "Then tell me to leave," I said. She didn't. Instead, she whispered, "I hate how jealous I get, even thinking about you with someone else." The words spilled out as if she'd been holding them back for years. "I'm not supposed to feel that." I was close enough now to smell the coffee on her breath. My hands were fists at my sides, holding myself back. "Say you don't want me," I said, my voice almost breaking. "Just say it once and I'll go." Her lips parted but no sound came out. She gripped the back of the couch, knuckles white. Her eyes glistened. "Please," she breathed. "Don't make me choose." I reached out, stopped inches from her face. We were both shaking. The house was so quiet I could hear the clock tick in the kitchen. And then, a shadow moved past the frosted window by the door. A key rattled in the lock. The key rattled once, then stopped. A silence longer than it should have been. She shot me a look, not anger, not even fear, but something like surrender. "It's not him," she whispered. Before I could ask, the door opened. A man stepped inside, older than me but younger than her ex-husband. Dark coat, wet shoes, the kind of confidence of someone who knows where they stand in a house. He shut the door gently, eyes flicking from her to me. "I told you not to come today," she said quietly. "I had to," he replied. His voice was steady, but his gaze lingered on me. "Who's this?" She pressed a hand to her forehead. "My son's friend. He was just leaving." I stood there frozen, my bag hanging off my shoulder. The man smiled faintly, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I'm David," he said, offering a hand. "We've been seeing each other." The room tilted a little. I didn't take his hand. "I didn't know," I said. "You weren't supposed to," she murmured. He looked at her. "He didn't know? You told me it was over." "It is," she said, but her voice broke on the last word. He stepped closer to her, not me. "So why is he here?" Her eyes flicked to mine, a plea, an apology. Because I asked him to help with something, she said. Nothing more. It was a lie, but also true in the worst way. My chest burned. I wanted to shout, to confess, to drag the truth into the open. Instead, I put my hands in my pockets so no one would see them shake. David's mouth tightened. You're free to do what you want, he said. But don't pretend this is nothing. Not with me standing here. He set a set of keys on the coffee table and backed toward the door. I'm done, he said. Call me when you've figured out who you are. When the door shut behind him, the house seemed to exhale. She sank onto the couch, face in her hands. I didn't know how to tell you, she said through her fingers. It was supposed to be casual. He was supposed to be safe. And then you kept coming over and… She stopped, shoulders shaking. I lowered myself onto the opposite end of the couch. My throat felt raw. You don't have to explain, I said, but my voice cracked anyway. She looked up, eyes red. I do. Because you deserve better than this. I reached across the space between us. My fingers brushed hers, just a brush, nothing more, but she didn't pull away. Outside, the rain had started again, heavier now. The sound filled the room as if the house itself was holding its breath. The rain on the roof was so loud it felt like static in my ears. She sat at one end of the couch, I at the other, the space between us crowded with everything unsaid. The man's keys were still on the coffee table, glinting like a dare. I can't keep doing this, she said finally. Her voice was small but steady. I'm tired of lying, of pretending you're just a boy dropping things off. I'm not a boy, I said quietly. She gave a weary smile. You're young. And I'm scared, I finished for her. She stared at me as if I'd reached across a locked door. Yes, she whispered. I'm scared. Not of you. Of what it means if I stop pretending. For the first time since I'd known her, she let herself slouch. Shoulders forward, hair falling around her face, hands empty. She looked less like my friend's mother and more like someone who'd been standing at a crossroads too long. I didn't plan this, she said. You showed up, and suddenly the house felt different. I liked it. I hated that I liked it. I swallowed. Then tell me to leave. I've been trying, she said. Every time you knock, I tell myself to. And then I open the door. The rain softened, a hush instead of a roar. We were both trembling, though either of us was cold. I shifted closer, not touching her yet. She didn't move away. I'm not looking for a secret, I said. I just want you. Whatever that means. Her eyes closed briefly, and a tear slid down her cheek. If I do this, I can't be your safe story anymore. I'll be the woman who crossed the line. You're already more than a story, I murmured. Her hand rose halfway, then fell. Your friend will hate me, she said. Maybe you will too. I shook my head. I know what I'm doing. She looked at me then, really looked, the way you look at someone when you're about to jump and you're checking if they'll jump with you. Something uncoiled in her face. She reached out, fingers grazing my jaw. It wasn't a kiss, it was a question shaped like a touch. This is your chance, she whispered. Walk out and we pretend none of this happened. I put my hand over hers, holding it against my skin. No more pretending, I said. We sat like that, eyes locked, the world narrowed to two people and a soundless room. The rain stopped completely. A car door slammed somewhere outside, my friend, maybe, or no one at all. We didn't move. For the first time, it didn't feel like we were about to cross a line. It felt like we already had. The world outside the window felt muted, like someone had turned the volume down on everything except our breathing. Her hand was still under mine. It trembled once, then stilled. I thought I'd ruined myself for good, she said softly. For years I only gave, never took. Then you walked in and… I wanted something again. That scared me more than anything. I squeezed her fingers. You don't have to be scared. She gave a tired laugh. Yes, I do. But maybe that's okay. For the first time since this began, she didn't look like she was about to apologize. She just looked at me, eyes swollen from tears but steady. We sat on that couch and let the silence stretch, not as a barrier but as a kind of truce. I told David it was over, she said, before you came back. I told him I couldn't keep living a half-life. He left the keys because he didn't believe me. I nodded. I'm sorry if I stop apologizing, she interrupted. This isn't just you. This is me choosing. I don't know what comes next, but I'm done hiding from it. The honesty in her voice felt heavier than any confession. It made me sit up straighter, like a weight had shifted from both of us. She reached for a tissue, wiped her face, then gave a small self-conscious smile. Look at me. Mid-40s, crying on a couch with a boy who should be out with someone his own age. I'm not here because I don't have options, I said quietly. I'm here because I choose you. Something broke then, not like glass but like a door finally opening. She leaned against me, her head on my shoulder. It wasn't a kiss, it wasn't a promise, but it was real. We sat that way until the clock in the kitchen struck the hour. She straightened, took a deep breath. We'll have to tell him. Not today. But soon. I know. My throat was tight. I'm ready. Her eyes searched mine one last time. If we do this, it has to be honest. No more sneaking around. I nodded. No more pretending. Outside, the clouds began to break. A thin stripe of sunlight pushed across the rug like a quiet blessing. She smiled at it, then at me, not the nervous smile from before, but a small, hopeful one. We didn't say the words everyone expected. We just sat there, two people who had crossed a line and now had to build something new on the other side of it. Whatever came next, it would be ours to face. She exhaled. Okay, she whispered. Let's start from here. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?